episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am joined alongside my co-host and good friend London Beth. And today we are hitting on the Chicago Bears and the Buffalo Bills post-game reaction. The good and the bad from the Bears' 41-15 loss. How Justin Fields actually grew in this game. Though his stats don't really show it, he grew as a quarterback during this game on and off the field. Matt Nagy should be embarrassed, even though it is preseason, how this game went. London and I have two very different, views on that. So please stay tuned for that. And even if it's just preseason, it's horrible. And yes, Mitchell Trubisky ripped up the Chicago Bears. It's preseason, folks. Most of his success was against second stringers. Tony and I were at the game. I'll give you in-game reactions. You guys were, a lot of you were at home watching, but we will get into that. But before we dive into it, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Stupid Car Tray. Tired of your pizza topping sliding, office coffee distracting you while driving, grease and other stains getting on your seat, or you're just enjoying a game on the couch and don't want to lean over? Look no further than the Stupid Car Tray. Proudly USA made, Stupid Car Tray makes your passenger seat or couch a level surface for all transportation and couch potato needs. With accessories like the Stupid Seat Anchor, hand sanitizer bottle, or 100% silicone grip mat, your tray is the ultimate car organizer. With over 20 different color combinations, there's a Stupid Car Tray for everyone. Visit www.stupidcartray.com and use discount code J16 to get 16% off your entire order. Link in the description.
I got a Stupid Car Tray, Nick, and it works. What didn't work, though, this weekend was pretty much anything to do with the Chicago Bears, especially when it came to tackling. So let's get into this and talk about it.
I can't even describe to you just the mood of Soldier Field from section 427, like up in the sky. Like it was bad. We're going to start with the offense. Bad, horrible, pathetic, you name it. Again, everyone's like, it's preseason. It's eventually going to be real. And, you got to start getting these kinks out. You got to start working on things like that. You go against the Buffalo Bills, a much more talented team, and the Bears were exposed in a lot of ways on things that do and do not work for them. To start off, let's head on Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. They had nearly the same stats if you take away Andy Dalton's 73-yard touchdown pass to Rodney Adams. Shout out Rodney Adams, who had he had a daughter like at 5 a.m. before the game. He was running on.
I think he might have made the roster off that play.
I think there was a lot of hype around him. Like the Bears social media is posting about him. I mean, you could post about anybody and still they could end up getting cut. Business is business. But it was a great catch. Like he went right over the Bills defense, like the defender, like here's the helmet, like just did that. If you're listening, I literally just reached my hand out, like hands over the defender's helmet, pulled it back, ripped the defender to the side and ran 73 yards to the house. It was a sick play. It was a great throw by Dalton too. Like it was on the money, like exactly where his hands were. It was awesome. And then that was the only passing touchdown of the day. Justin Fields did not have any. And the Bears also scored on a 13-yard run by rookie Khalil Herbet. I know we've been talking a lot about him. He definitely is going to make this roster because he was the number one punt returner for the Chicago Bears. He actually had a few decent punt returns from watching. Well done, young man. Keep it up. I think he has a legitimate shot. And at running back, he's got some moves. He's got the quick feet like David Montgomery. We'll get into Montgomery in a minute, too. I don't feel like that's being talked about enough. But let's go through stats really fast. Andy Dalton compared to Justin Fields. Dalton was 11 for 17 for 146 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 87 quarterback rating. Not horrible, not terrible. Obviously, the Bears want to be up there because Mitch had a really good quarterback rating. Again, we'll get into that in a little bit. And Justin Fields went 9 for 19 with 80 yards and a 59 quarterback rating. He did rush 4 times for 46 yards, so he averaged roughly 11 and a half yards a carry. He can move. In person, I don't think, TV does justice how fast Justin Fields is. I mean, he was able to go from about to pass and then just, put it in his hand, and he took off. I was like, holy cow. Like I saw Michael Vick when he was on the Eagles play the Bears back in 2010 at Soldier Field, and it was kind of like that. That ability, that smartness, he was making things work. Justin Fields did very well yesterday with his feet. That's where he grew on the field, I think, in making the decision on not to pass, whether to pass or not, and to just, do it himself. And he's not afraid to, hit some defenders. I mean, he put his shoulder down. He started going through people. He wasn't sliding around. It was good to see. So London, thoughts on whether or not Andy Dalton should start week 1? I know that a lot of people are talking about this. I know that, it's a very touchy subject with Bears fans, especially because Dalton didn't play well. Dalton did pretty well yesterday for what he had to deal with. And a lot of it wasn't first stringers. I mean, only the first series I saw Darnell Mooney out there. So, Should he start week 1 or not? Should Justin Fields start week 1 or not? Or should Andy Dalton still start week 1?
Andy Dalton. And now I'm actually, and I want to talk to like a lot of our viewers here, and I want the older viewers, the veteran Bears fans out there. I want you guys to come out of the woodwork and back me up here. I think I am even closer and getting closer and closer to the conclusion that I don't even want Justin Fields to touch a game in the regular season. Okay. We were a little, and I swear, we were a little worried last week when, our offensive line played well, but it was against the Miami Dolphins, who have not a very good defensive line, not a very good pass rush. So I think those numbers were just kind of, I don't know, it was like a balloon effect or something. And guess what? This weekend, that balloon popped. Our offensive line looked horrible. Justin Fields took a vicious hit, which again, it was, and our right tackle looked awful. I mean, just overall, it was a horrible, horrible outing from our offensive line. And that's exactly what those injuries sooner or later were going to catch up to us. So what I'm saying is, the more and more I see this, and the more and more I don't see Infidetti getting healthy, the more and more I see, of course, Tevin Jenkins is out for a while due to his back surgery. We're hoping the best for him. Just the more and more I'm seeing these players not getting healthy and having to run with these second, third, fourth string linemen, I am honestly getting further away from it. I'd rather have the 1 year, $10 million guy out there who's the veteran, who can read things a little faster, and who, is not going to run around and take shots to his body. I'd rather have him out there than risking another vicious hit on Justin Fields like he took this weekend.
Yeah, that was scary.
Nick, I'm over it. I know all of Twitter and all these like guys who like have all these followers and blue check marks and everything are like, oh, start Justin Fields. He's just more dynamic. You do that, he's going to get injured. He's going to take vicious hits like he did this weekend. And his career is going to literally be just, it's going to turn into RG3 all over again. And I'm far away. I want Andy Dalton to play the whole season.
So I agree. I agree with you. There's no doubt about that. You get excited when you see Justin Fields make plays.
Oh, he's electric.
It's electric. Let's bring it down. It's electric. Bring it back to reality right now. But bring it back to reality. Justin Fields cannot start week 1. He should not start week 2. He is not ready. Like you said, this offensive line cannot protect him. That hit from Andre Smith was scary. I mean, when Fields' helmet like popped off, the place went silent and then the boo birds came out. Of course, it was roughing the passer. Thank goodness. And Andre Smith apologized. Class act by the Bills linebacker. When you're out there playing football, you obviously want to hit somebody. And he was just trying to get after the ball. It wasn't intentional from it looked like. There's no beef between him and Justin Fields. And there was I don't think it had anything to do with Justin Fields' comment that the game was slow. I know a lot of people were like, he's going to eat his words. But again, Justin Fields is not ready. I don't care. Like, so many people are living off his play at Ohio State. Ohio State and the NFL, two completely different games.
And the offensive line at Ohio State was phenomenal.
It was great. He had great protection. He had top 10 college talent. And the fact that we don't, against the Bills, who are a potential Super Bowl team, and we got rocked like that, the Rams, who have just as good of a defense, don't throw him out there. Just don't. Get over it. He's not starting week 1. Get over it. I'm sorry. I cannot stand when I see that either. And I'm guilty of, I went back and forth every now and then on it. I admit to it. I admit my faults. But Justin Fields is not ready for week 1. With that offensive line, there's no way. People need to come back to reality that we need a better offensive line, or the offensive line needs to be healthy in order for Justin Fields to go out there. So happy you and I agree to that. I know that people in the comment section are going to go, this is just one game. I get it. He's still not ready. So let's just move on. Let's move on to, the rest of the offense. Please put your comments in the section below, in the comment section below. We love hearing from you guys. We love hearing your takes on it too. But, London and I are sticking to
I would love to hear somebody change my mind. I would love to hear somebody change my mind.
I really would.
Fields. Other than he's electric and a better athlete and, blah, blah, blah. I would love to have somebody give me a really solid, in-depth reason why Justin Fields should start with this offensive line if the Rams game it's in a week or two. So tell me what's going to, I'd love it. I'd absolutely
and let me ask you this, London, who was the last Bears quarterback in the last 10 years drafted highly, like in the top 15? I know where you're getting at. And we threw them out in the fire. What happened to that guy's career? He was on the other side of the ball Saturday for the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. So, don't ruin a guy's, Mitchell Trubisky could have been a good quarterback. He played fine. He played well against the Bears. ate a lot of people's words. We'll get into that in a little bit, though. No David Montgomery again on the offense. Kind of weird. I guess the soreness was bothering him enough to stay out of the game. Matt Nagy wanted to take precautions. Same with Roquan Smith. I know we're not on the defense yet, but something to keep an eye on. We're going to keep an eye on that. We have training camp updates all week, so stay tuned for that for David Montgomery. But he was not out there again. Khalil Herbet took advantage, though. Damian Williams definitely took advantage, too. He looked really good. He is fast. He has moves. Very excited. Like, you have to go see a game at Soldier Field to really understand how fast Damian Williams is. And then kind of going into it, I know let's get to Matt Nagy in a second, London. We've already hit on the offensive line. We've already hit on Andre Smith, but Jesse James had a really good game again. I think he locked in tight end 3 after this game. I think Bears fans also can agree to that. He had some really nice catches. He was getting open. And he's not a blocking tight end. We all know that, but he is a very athletic tight end, can make plays, one-handed catches. I like Jesse James a lot. I think he will go well in Bill Lazor and Matt Nagy's offense. But let's go to Matt Nagy's offense real fast. Clearly was calling the plays. Clearly was not listening to Bill Lazor, was just testing anything out that he could that Matt Nagy wanted to do. Matt Nagy is his biggest enemy right now. And we say it all the time. Twitter says it all the time. He is mentally against himself. He thinks he's outsmarting the other team. And if you play with your talent that he has on the field, I think Matt Nagy would have a lot more success. It was a disaster yesterday. I mean, the stats look okay from an offensive standpoint. I mean, it was 15 points compared to 41. You can blame a lot of it on the defense. But Matt Nagy was running draw plays on 3rd and long. He was doing these little passes again. There was only a few deep balls. And the deep balls were working. Why are we still not running deep balls when you have a quarterback that like Andy Dalton that's experienced? When you have a guy like Justin Fields who can throw the ball downfield? I don't know what Matt Nagy and Bill Lazor are doing. I know it's preseason. I know we shouldn't be getting this worked up. But if this is how the offense is going to be in the season, we are not going to win games. The defense cannot be on the field 75% of the time because the offense does these little, screen plays all the time. It's predictable. We're not even coaches and it's predictable. London, I know you're a Matt Nagy guy. I told you guys I was getting close to being a Matt Nagy guy. I was really turned the wrong way after Saturday's game. It can change, as always, but, I was rubbed the wrong way. And also, no visor, that's a loss automatically. Matt Nagy's got to wear the visor every game moving forward. London, thoughts on Matt Nagy's performance this past Saturday?
Yeah, this is another thing that all the blue check marks and all these other people who, probably have never played football in their lives on Twitter constantly brought up in regards to Matt Nagy. They were like, oh, we could totally tell Matt Nagy was calling plays, so on and so forth. Listen, yes. Was that somewhat of a poor performance? Sure. Am I going to blame Matt Nagy for it? Absolutely not. Okay. You have to understand this. This season, Matt Nagy has put all the chips in his pocket. Okay. He is betting on himself because he knows after this season, they just got a new quarterback. I think King Pace stays, but they will get a new head coach. Period. They will get a new head coach if this season does not produce in the way he knows it. He's putting all those chips in his pocket. He's betting on himself. I understand that. The biggest thing I'm going to say in regards to Matt Nagy, okay, and this is just for everybody out there that thinks, Bill Lazor and all these other coaches should go out there and they think they can do better. Our offense is just stale in general. Okay. Yeah. I think that Matt Nagy is trying to do all these different things, but like you said, our defense is out there constantly. Our offensive stale. Matt Nagy is not the quarterback. He is not an offensive lineman. He is not a wide receiver. He is not a running back. He is just calling plays to play chess against the other coach, but he's not actually executing these plays. And it was just lackluster. And I didn't see the energy on our offense. Okay. I didn't see people out there trying to kill somebody other than probably Khalil Herbet and Rodney Adams. Those are probably the only two guys that I really saw.
Jesse James.
Yeah, and Jesse James. Those are probably the only two guys that I really saw out there trying to make a name for themselves. Matt Nagy can't be doing that. Okay. He's not our quarterback. And so I'd pump the brakes a little bit. We'll see what the season looks like and everything. I do agree, though, that it looked like 2019, 2020 all over again, where our offense started slow, didn't get going until the second half, and our defense was out there 90%, and they just got steamrolled. It scared me.
It's just what it is. And no, you're speaking it, but you always go to the head of whatever situation this is. Obviously, Matt Nagy being the head coach, and the past performances in the past seasons of him calling plays has gone to this. So I'm still upset with Matt Nagy. I think that it was inexcusable, and I know it's preseason. Someone's gonna go, yes, Nick, it's preseason. I don't know why you're so worked up. This is our Super Bowl window is very small right now. And like you said, I really like that you brought up this point about Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace has built a good team. There is no doubt about it. The offensive line, he can't control injuries. Yes, the offensive line could be a little bit better in ways, but it sure is a hell of a lot better than it was in the early 2010s when Ryan Pace first came to Chicago Bears. He's done everything he can. A lot of bad contracts he's had to deal with. This upcoming offseason, I think he's going to really improve the offensive line even more. And people are like, oh, we should have never gotten rid of Leno Jr. Go look at his highlights from the Washington football game this past week.
Shut up.
Just
yeah,
stop.
get out of here.
Just stop. Like that's just like, stop. It's one game. Okay. And Tevin Jenkins being that also just pisses me off. Just stop. And if you're on the Tevin Jenkins as a bus train, like, just stop. It's just what it is. So Charles Leno Jr. is no saint. He is not doing well on the Washington football team in preseason. So anyway, overall, just a disaster for the offense. There was positives, obviously, but not the best performance. Let's go to the defense really fast, London, because we are coming up on time. Mitch Trubisky, Bears ex-quarterback, led the Bills to 34 points on 7 offensive possessions. He went 20 for 28 with 221 yards passing, 1 passing TD with a 106.4 quarterback rating. He said he was happy to be back in the city of Chicago. He looked good. Again, he played against a lot of second stringers. Have to say it because it's the truth. When I will say this, he made Bears fans, including myself to a degree, eat their words. But I'm going to rebuttal back, stick to my guns, and say when Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and the starting defense was out there, Mitch did not look that good. His running backs looked good. And yes, there were a couple lucky plays. There were a couple defensive holding plays that helped move the Bills down the field. Overall, it was impressive. It was probably a feel good for Mitch, but London, I know you have a really good take, especially on like Eddie Jackson, Tyreek Cohen talking about like, if you boo Mitch, this and that. I know you have a good understanding on it. We're going to get to Mitch in a second on that. I know you have a good take on it though. The defense gave up 41 points, which is totally unacceptable. Most of them coming when Mitch was on the field, obviously. But here's something that I noticed from a fan's perspective is that Coach Sean Desai is not a zone type defense, just like Fangio. Fangio is very one-on-one because he had the DBs to do it. There was a lot of zone on Saturday. And that looked like Pagano's defense. So London, do you think that Desai was testing his DBs and linebackers to see their ability and also kind of give that test to Ogletree, kind of give that test to Artie Burns, any of these players that need to prove that they can start on this team because, Danny Trevathan hasn't been out there. No one's talking about him at camp or anything. How do you feel about the zone that happened on Saturday? I know you saw it too.
Yeah, I saw a lot of 2-set flat drops, and I saw a lot of cover 3, and a lot of cover 2. And I think the reason why they did zone is just because of the mass speed that the Buffalo Bills have on offense.
They're a
they have
fast
some
team.
Speed. They have some fast players. I mean, you could tell they have some absolute blazers on their team. And so I think they tried to drop in a zone just because, they thought it would break down. I think they thought it would slow down their deep ball, which it did. I mean, Trubisky, and I know we're going to hit on in a second, was not consistent on a deep ball. They hit no passes over 12 yards on us. So the zone did work. The problem was our defense couldn't tackle, which we'll get into in a second. But overall, I think he was testing it. I think he was testing out the DBs and the linebackers to see if we sat in zone, if we could stop the ball and hold them and keep them in front of us. I think it did actually work. The problem was we could not tackle, which was the most irritating thing I've ever seen in my entire life. That score is drastically different. If players just played 100% and made some tackles, it would have been so much different. So I like that Desai is trying something different. I think that he saw the speed on the field and came out with a different kind of zone kind of concept for this game, which I like. I like that he's trying new things, as a young defensive coordinator in the NFL.
You know what? And this is just something I want to bring up before we get into Mitch. And in regards to Mitch's deep ball, I know he had 221 yards. Can you just give me a guess of what you thought his average throw was? Just take a guess, yard wise.
Oh man, probably I would say 8 yards, maybe close.
You are on the money, 7.9. So he's not doing the deep ball. He was not doing a deep ball. So that's just kind of where I stay. Mitch, he threw 28 passes, completed 20 of them. 8 yards. Come on. And sure, he had a couple. His receivers made long plays, but at the game there was no 50-yard deep ball passes. There was nothing flashy, and it was all zone. That's why Mitch did so well. We're going to get into that in a second. Just quickly going through the defense. Marquis Christian, who had the best game on the side of the field, who's fighting for a roster spot. 8 tackles, 7 of them being solo, and 1 pass deflection. Travis Gibson bounced back big time. We know we talked about him all week. 5 tackles, all solo with 1 strip sack, which was pretty good to see. Mario Edwards Jr. had 2 sacks. Good to see him coming in strong. Charles Snowden, who's also fighting for a roster spot, had a nice game. 3 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. And Tonga. Yeah, Tonga, I'm telling you, he's going to be special.
He's something.
He's something. He literally is like from, section 427. He's a big man from up there. I cannot imagine how big is he in person.
Yeah, he was, and I was really, really surprised. Tonga played with like our second team. He also played with the third team. He got a lot of playing time.
He got a lot
on the goal line. He was just falling to the ground, making plays. He was getting tackles for losses. He was everywhere, and it's really, really great because there's a couple guys like including Keem Hicks are getting a little old on our D line, and man, that dude took full advantage of the opportunity to be on the field. I was very impressed by what Tonga did. I think he was the MVP of the game for the Bears.
I would say him and Christian, because he had a very impressive game. But here's something I want to hit on too really fast before we go into Mitch to end the episode. Is Robert Quinn had a massive, from a fan's perspective, London played football. He broke this down for me before the episode. Robert Quinn had a huge missed tackle that ended up being the first score for the Buffalo Bills. It was a rushing touchdown. It was horrendous. I mean, it was like Gibson last week against the Dolphins. I mean, literally arm's length away from tackling this Bills running back, and he missed it. But actually, London, he did the right thing. Can you break down that? I know Bears fans know exactly what play I'm talking about too. It was the first touchdown of the game. Everyone's like, Quinn, you bum. Like the Boo Birds were out at Soldier Field. What did Quinn do right there? Even though he could have made the tackle, but he did right. Explain it, London, if you can.
Yeah, no. The biggest thing that Robert Quinn did is playing outside linebacker. Your number one job on the defense is to contain everything. So you're trying to contain every single running back, the quarterbacks, everything, to keep them inside the pocket. So your linebackers, your safeties can make the actual tackles. I mean, that is honestly your job. It's pass rush and contain is the number one jobs of even guys like Khalil Mack. And I know that sounds crazy, but those are his 2 number one jobs. Sure. And so what Robert Quinn there was actually good. So he got to the outside. He didn't let the running back get to the sideline and run up field, which that's what a toss play. You're trying to stretch it out to get to the sideline and then run up field. So he beat him there and then pushed him in, and no one filled. Now, granted, if Robert Quinn would have pushed him inside and made the tackle, that would have been probably the best possible play Robert Quinn could have made in the preseason. He didn't make the tackle, but there is supposed to be a linebacker or a safety filling there. Eddie Jackson came up to fill, looked like he was going half-ass. In way, and just got steamrolled over into the end zone. I was actually extremely more disappointed in Eddie Jackson's play and effort on that play than I was Robert Quinn, because I saw Robert Quinn bust his butt to the sideline, suck that running back in, and then when the fill came, just got steamrolled. So everybody out there, the Boo Birds, all that kind of stuff, if he would have made that tackle, that would have been, again, like a Khalil Mack-esque play, which I don't think Robert Quinn's on the same level as Khalil Mack.
No.
But, I mean, he did do his job. Even though Twitter was freaking out, he actually did do his job.
Yeah, and I know I'm guilty of it. I'm the one that tweeted Robert Quinn sucks off our Twitter account. London texts me. He goes, no, I will explain tomorrow. He did the right thing. And obviously, having a couple blue moons and the higher altitude made me a little not think exactly straight. So I just want to be transparent on that. Let's go into Mitch though, in full transparency. I know a lot of people were upset by the comments that we made last episode that was posted on Friday about disrespecting Trubisky. Just want to make clear, we love Mitch Trubisky. Great community guy, great person, overall pretty boy assassin, but good guys don't win football games. And Mitch Trubisky played against R2s with ones. He obviously was going to ball out. It's against his former team. He was going to ball out. It's what sells. It's preseason. He's not the starter. If it would have been Josh Allen would have had those stats. It makes sense. But overall, Mitch Trubisky, we don't owe him anything. He did what he did. He doesn't play for the Bears anymore. Just want to make that clear. He made me eat my words. I was pretty upset. He had a good game, but then you start breaking it down. There was no deep balls. There was nothing flashy against Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and that defensive line, he didn't do anything. It was when everyone went out. When you have Blackson out there, when you have Tonga out there, when you have Kendall Vildor, that's what he got torched, because that's what Mitch Trubisky does. He does well against bad teams, and against good teams, he can't perform. He's on a good team right now. He's on a potential Super Bowl team. That's why Mitch Trubisky succeeded. I wish him nothing but the best still. There's no doubt about that. But everyone just needs to calm down about Mitch Trubisky and his performance against the Chicago Bears. London, I know you feel very strongly about it too, but that's just kind of where I'm coming from right now.
Yeah, and everybody who was out there saying that Matt Nagy ruined Trubisky and was the reason why the team sucked, dude, take a walk. Like, go around the block, grab your dog, like, just relax a little bit. That is not what it is. Mitchell Trubisky averaged 8 yards per pass. He was
not even 8 yards
inconsistent.
per pass.
He's the quarterback that we had in Chicago, and he's the quarterback that I expected to see on the field. And that was a dink and dunk quarterback that passes it to fast players and gets into open field. Okay, granted, the Buffalo Bills just have so much immense speed. It's unbelievable, and our defense looked crappy. So
it was the twos.
I get it. And I know everybody was like, oh, it's Mitch, but that sells. God. You know, it's great that all these haters came on and were like, stop talking crap about Mitch. Listen, I played football. Okay. And I had a very, very close friend who went to a rival high school. And listen, after so many games, we absolutely beat the crap out of him over and over, and his team over and over again. And guess what? Yeah, off the field, we were buds, and off the field, we were best friends. As soon as that we stepped on the field, we were not. Okay, we were mortal enemies. We were mortal enemies, and we went after each other. And that's what people just have to start understanding is, like, we all love Mitch. We had a great 2018 season. It's not Matt Nagy's fault he's that quarterback. He is that quarterback. Go break down the field. 8 yards a pass.
Watch him in college. Watch him in college.
Get out of here. People who are like, oh, bring Mitch back. I'm like, dude, oh my gosh.
And how would that go? Another competition at camp between Fields and Trubisky that Trubisky would end up winning because you don't want to hurt Mitch's feelings? No, just stop. And also everyone's like, Nick, that really aged well. Your comments really aged well. Guess what? I'm not the future man. I can't predict the future. This is why we do sports. This is why we do podcasts, because we love to have controversy, because that's what makes sports a beautiful thing. Because at the end of the day, it's on the gridiron, and off the gridiron, it's a completely different thing. So overall, wishing Mitch the best, no doubt about it. But I just want everyone's got to get off this high horse with him. I'm sorry. I can't even do it. If it was a regular season game and he did that, sure. If it was against our ones, sure. If it wasn't against a testing zone defense, sure. I would be eating my words every day of the week and twice on Sunday, or technically Saturday. Overall, London, I'm with you. People got to have enemies on the field, because, he's not a Chicago Bear. He's a Buffalo Bill. So very fun episode. I think this was definitely the most fun we've had in a while on this podcast in regards to arguments. So, and thank you everyone for commenting last time. We love to talk to you guys. If you have an argument, let's hear it. If you have a comment and you don't like what we say, we want to hear it. We want to talk to you guys. London and I are always commenting back. You guys see, so we'll eventually get back to you. But with that, that's the Bears, 41-15 loss to the Buffalo Bills in preseason game number 2. Bears take on the Titans next week. We will be going through weekly coverage leading up to the game and have post-game coverage as well the day after the game. So stay tuned for that. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am joined alongside London Beth, and we will see you guys next time.